everything that we eat is or was a life form, whether it's a piece of meat or a Twinkie or a carrot. They're all started off as organisms or life forms. And so what we feed on as human beings is we feed on life. That's what all animals feed on. And so we eat living things, and I've no longer differentiate or put more value on one type of life than another type of life. To me, they're all life forms, whether they're microorganisms or plants or fungi or animals. I really believe in omnivory, and I believe in like a spiritual omnivory that says I understand that I subsist off of the life force of other beings, and I have gratitude that any being um, can be incorporated into my body so that I can live here. And someday when I die, other things are going to eat me. Whether that's a lion or a microorganism, I'm going to be composted and put back into the life cycle too. So life feeds on life, and that's sort of one of the beautiful missing teachings in our culture today. That we embalm human beings so that nothing can eat them. But our ancestors understood that everything was food. Everybody is food, and one day you'll be food too.
Yeah, and seeing that transformation in every object, I think. You know, looking at a flower and seeing the rain and seeing the water and seeing that it's all a cycle. But I think it's something I just realized right now that's so cool is that, you know, for me, like with raw food, it can be a divide with people, and a lot of people aren't, you know, for veganism, they don't feel like it's right for them to not eat meat. But talking to you, it's, you know, empowering to know that you don't have to stop eating meat. Like the key thing is the source.
The key thing is the source, and that you you feel good about where your food's coming from. And I don't personally believe in veganism as a sustainable way to live. For instance, bees are required for the pollination of vegan foods. Most of the vegan foods harvested in the United States or around the world are done at the expense of habitat and the destruction of actually a lot of animals die in the harvesting of foods because they're harvested by machine combines. I think we don't realize how devastating agriculture is. And so vegan diets, typical vegan diets, are not particularly sustainable, and the foods that are grown are fertilized by the feces of animals. So if you're buying organic food, what organic means is that it's being fertilized by composts and manures, which come from animals. So for somebody to say, "Well, I'm a vegan, I don't partake in any of that," well, you do, because you support you're buying food fertilized by animals. And so if you want to take animals out of the fertilization, if you want to take that out of the equation, you have to then put in synthetic fertilizers. And that's how conventional food. So actually, it's a funny thing going on, because animals are required for the growing of food, and that's why we don't see veganism in cultures anywhere around the world in history. It's just never existed till now. But it exists now because people are raised on this goblin orc diet of butchered up, suffering animals. And so we go like, no, enough. And we cleanse out from that. In the same way that a monk or nun might have gone to a monastery and done a similar type of cleanse, they just always knew at some point it would end and they would rejoin the world. And what you're talking about is true. It's like when people go, no, this is how I will live forever, they shut out so many people and so many relationships and so much love, and hurt so many people because there's no way to commune anymore. And sharing of food is how we commune with family and with loved ones and with tribe and with community. So one of the great things about me after many years of about my life, I should say, not about me. One of the great things about me, one of the great things about my life, I know there are many, is that now I'm able to partake again in food with people that I love, who for a long time felt isolated from me or felt even guilty or shamed to eat around me. Now we can share together, and I have now a tool that I can share higher quality foods with them, and that they'll actually eat, because they didn't want to eat a lot of things that I was eating before. So all those walls have come down, but that path that I walked out was so valuable to me, and I would never do it different. It's like I've learned so much by stripping my diet down to the barest essentials and then building it back up. That's that second path I talked about, and that path teaches you so much. So much of my community's done that same path, and you're on that same path, and it's a path. And so it's not like, wow, I made it here, now I don't eat
Now I'm gonna be like this forever.
Right, or like, here's who I am. I'm the person who doesn't eat this and doesn't eat that, and I define myself by what I don't eat. That's a really strange way to live. So I think what would really benefit people who are new on this path is going into it knowing that it's going to keep changing and keep evolving, And it's best not to write books saying, here's the best way and here's what I don't do anymore, because you might change and you don't want to lock yourself into something. So
it's like, this is what I'm doing right now.
this is what I'm doing right now, and this is how that feels, and this is what that's like, and here's what I'm learning from it. And tomorrow's different, and the next day is different, and that is what life is. It's this constant evolving thing, and when we try to lock it in, crystallize it into one shape or appearance, we're taking so much energy to try to control something, and we actually suffer, and I think that's worse for your health.
Exactly.
When you're going around thinking everything, one of the things that happens on raw food diets sometimes is people start thinking everything that they see is toxic or bad for them, and they get to where they limit their diet so much that they can't eat because they're afraid everything's toxic. And that is worse for your health than just eating a regular diet.
Yeah, your mental state is key.
It's actually more key. So I really believe in eating without guilt and eating with freedom, but it took me many years of really rigid dogmatism to understand the value of that. And that's the path that I chose, and I got a lot out of it. For me, it was I gave up processed food and fast food, and then I gave up red meat, and then I gave up white meat, then I gave up fish, then I gave up eggs, then I gave up milk, then I gave up cooking, then I gave up everything but fruit. Then I started to eat vegetables again. Then I started to eat milk again. Then I started to eat eggs again. Then I started to eat fish again, and white meats and red meats. And I worked my way back to a diet that looks almost the same as the diet that I came from. But it took that whole process to understand the origin and quality of everything, so that I'm now at a very healthy version of the diet that appears like a traditional diet, but is actually mostly made out of processed synthetic food. So it's this beautiful coming full circle, but coming back to an evolved point. So instead of coming full circle, it's like coming up a tier in a spiral staircase. It's like evolved. And so that for me has been, that's like allowing me to embrace the world again, and a lot of people who I kind of had shut out because of what I was doing.
Yeah. And I think that, I know it's so much information and it's time, but I just feel like all of this is so worth it, and you're worth it. Everybody's worth this, and a lot of people want, quick fixes, or don't think that they have the time, but this is the most valuable thing that you have, is your health.
Yeah. And your health is made up of a lot more than what's going on physiologically. It's what's going on mentally and emotionally and spiritually too. And if we really want to heal and regenerate ourselves and restore ourselves to what we actually really truly are, which are these amazing, beautiful organisms on this earth, if we want to get back to that place, we have to heal our beliefs. And that takes some time. But the great thing is that even one step, it's like you add one thing. It's like a friend of mine who came out of the military world and out of the war. I started feeding him goji berries, and that was the only thing, He started eating these berries. He feels so good. And that feeling good from making a change inspired him to try another thing. And then it becomes so exciting and so fun that you don't feel like, oh, this is taking years, or oh, you're just in total ecstasy, enjoying the change and the shift and the evolution. So it's not like it's work, or you don't even perceive the time, because you feel better each time. So every choice you make in every day. So yeah, I mean, perhaps, you talk to somebody who's been doing something like this for a decade or 2 decades or 3 decades, and it seems like a long time, but from day one, it's so fun, and you know that. It's so fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all of this. You're awesome. And
good to be on your pillow.
Yay! Check out Daniel Vitalis. Is it danielvitalis.com?
danielvitalis.com, and from there you can find all my other websites like findaspring.com and surthrival.com, which is my company, and Raw Living Water, which is spring water that I've brought to the marketplace.